One of the figures I've come back to recently that helped me a lot through my journey through complex PTSD was Alan Watts. I'm going to share one of his speeches that's been titled, "When You Trust Others, the More Powerful You Become." I'm Roach, Mark Roach. I'm going to share things on this YouTube channel called Transcendent to try to help others make their way through life, and if you're like me, perhaps overcome complex PTSD. So Alan Watts was a British philosopher and academic who really kind of had a lecture tour that was quite popular around the world in the, I believe, the 60s and 70s. And so I'm going to share some of the key takeaways from this, which was one of the more popular speeches that he gave. And I identified with it because most of us that have been through trauma have trust issues. And he really hits it here about trust, decision-making, and self-awareness, and the nature of our existence. And so here's some key takeaways. He makes a point about trust and delegation. Power through trust. Trusting others allows you to delegate responsibilities rather than controlling every aspect of life, leading to a sense of peace. That's not easy to do. But if you work at it, you may find yourself feeling like you're connecting to others and not so isolated and alone. Delegation in business. Successful leaders often delegate authority, paralleling natural biological processes where delegation fosters growth and harmony. And that takes some trust to do that. About decision-making anxiety, he speaks of the complexity of choices. People often experience anxiety in decision-making because they feel overwhelmed by the infinite variables involved. And then often people make snap judgments when they're facing a decision. But effective decisions often come from exhaustive deliberation rather than instinct. And so Watts highlights the limitation of our conscious intent. So I found he really was speaking kind of in circles around this, but I think it's important to understand that making a snap judgment and then living with the results of that may not be the best plan of action. But I think you have to find a way to tap into your intuition and your inner life, and then also find a way to examine multiple perspectives that you might consider in your mind before actually reaching a decision, especially on major things in life. Alan Watts talks about unity with the universe and oneness with others, and achieving a sense of unity with the universe involves recognizing our interdependence and letting go of this need for dominance. That takes some courage to do that. The principle of synergy, collaboration, and synergy create greater intelligence in systems, emphasizing that we don't fully understand the complex environments that we navigate. So accepting maybe a bit of your own arrogance or know-it-allness and letting go of that and just saying, I don't understand everything that's going on here, can actually help you connect with other people and create synergistic solutions that might surprise you with better outcomes. Letting go and power. Oh, letting go. Power. True power comes from relinquishing control rather than attempting to dominate situations and people. Have you ever seen someone really just try to use force to bully their way through? It may work in the short term, but in the long term, it's rare that that is sustainable. And then there's an idea of desirelessness. A profound state is reached when one acknowledges uncertainty about desires and aspirations. This can lead to a sense of freedom. Understanding of the self, self-discovery, the quest for self is akin to trying to look at one's own head. It often eludes direct perception. The illusion of control in our attempts to control thoughts and experiences can perpetuate anxiety and confusion. Embracing uncertainty allows for a more authentic existence. I think at one point in this speech, he talks about how the tooth doesn't know that it's a tooth and can't really see itself. And the metaphor there is that we, operating from our consciousness, from ourself, can't really ever see ourself. And that makes it very difficult to understand ourself. And he also mentions the role of religion and meditation. Meditation is an art. Meditation should not be seen as a means to an end, like obtaining enlightenment, but as a celebration of existence itself. He points out about attempting to enjoy our existence. The purpose of religious practice and meditation can be about appreciation and enjoyment of life, rather than seeking rewards or answers or systems that emphasize our inner biases and preferences or rules. And then he talks about complexity and explanation, complication through analysis. The complexity we perceive in nature often arises from our attempts to analyze and categorize experiences rather than from the experiences themselves. Living in the present, awareness of the present moment without imposing analytical frameworks leads to clarity and connection with reality. Alan Watts often speaks about the limitations of language and how fitting in our feelings and our perceptions and our experiences often can make it confusing for us and actually reduce the amount of enjoyment and pleasure that we can have from life, because we're trying to work in our minds on something that we are experiencing and enjoying, and are trying to fit into maybe an outdated language or vernacular or oral tradition. It's just unnecessary. And in conclusion, he really does talk about embracing the unknown, about understanding that search for external enlightenment is often a distraction from recognizing the inherent value of just being present. And the joy in existence. Life is inherently joyful and celebratory if approached with the right mindset, shifting from a quest from certainty to an appreciation of the mystery of existence. So these insights may challenge existing traditional notions of control, decision-making, and self-awareness, advocating for a more fluid, trusting approach to life that embraces the unknown. So I myself have tried to explore this in my life, and to be quite honest, I've been run over, and I've been betrayed, and I've been disappointed more times than not in many of the bigger scenes of my life and circumstances in business and athletics, and even in my personal life where I trusted and didn't look out for my own self-interest. But I think it does, what he is pointing out here is the attitude of working from this with a grounded, practical approach in life, rather than from a pessimistic, negative side, might be worth exploring. I challenge you to do that, as maybe you'll challenge me. I'm Mark Roach, wishing you all the best.